So the question we want to answer is: did Christ only die for those that were around during his time? Now, first of all, that's against scripture in Hebrews, where Hebrews talks about how Christ is and why the time that time was chosen for Christ to come and die. The thing, one of the things Paul says that that time he died was he died at the end of the ages. So that's one part first. So just that line of thought shows that there's something flawed with that argument. But we can't blame him, and we can't blame that thought is very reasonable. So, but the question now has to be the question answer to that question is tied to the question of why did Christ die? Why did Christ die? It depends on what Christ died. If we know why Christ died, if we know why Christ died, then we know if it only suffices for those who were around during his time period. If Christ died for, if Christ died for, how do I put it now? Maybe they were about to kill the whole of Israel, and then he said, I give myself for Israel. And then the Romans said, okay, we'll kill you, we'll spare everybody. Then we can say Christ only died for those who were alive during his time. Then the second question, or the follow-up question to that, so since that's not why Christ died, then that's not Christ didn't just die for people in his time. So the follow-up thing, which is also important to answer that question, is who killed Christ? Who is the person that Christ needed to be sacrificed to? The age of that person, the time that person was offended, will give us an answer to why or who he died for. So let me put it in English. You have a friend. Your friend offended somebody, and you go and sacrifice yourself for the friend, and your friend goes scot-free. If that punishment or that sacrifice is only for your friend, then we need to ask more questions about the person and the degree of the offense that your friend offended. The person he offended, when he did the offense, and the degree of the offense. If it's a man that we offended, that Christ now died for, then there's a time limit. It would only last for a generation. But the person we offended is God. The time we offended him was at the beginning of the age. The person that offended him is the father of all mankind. In him, in that first man, all of us were inside him, committing the offense. When Adam sinned, all of us were in Adam, committing sin against God. It was not only Adam that sinned. When Adam sinned against God, there was not only Adam that sinned. All of us were inside him. You know, we're just talking about James. When Hebrews was talking about Levi and Abraham, he said when Abraham gave tithe to Melchizedek, Levi was inside Abraham giving tithe. When Adam was committing sin against God, the eternal being, him that has no beginning and has no end, all of us were inside him committing that sin. The sin, and then we all got the punishment of death. All men died in Adam. The reason why Christ came, which is what I was talking about in the message earlier today, what separates us is this promise of defeating death. The person that needs to be appeased is the eternal God that is not bound by time. The punishment of the suffering is death. And the person punished is the father of all mankind, not a part of mankind. Adam, the father of all men. All men came from him. So when Christ came as a scapegoat, he took that punishment of death on himself. He took our death. He took the death of all the children of Adam who were in Adam when Adam sinned. He took the punishment of Adam and all of us who were in Adam when Adam sinned. And all of us who are now subject to death. And what he has brought is life and immortality to light. So the reason why we say Christ also died for us is because the person Christ died for is Adam. And that's why scripture calls him the second Adam. The last Adam. The second Adam is called the second Adam. It's called the last Adam. So we ask ourselves, oh yeah, when do we commit sin and everything? In Adam, we committed sin. That's the whole story behind generational curse. So because even our hands are not clean, because we are partaker of Adam's flesh. We bear the image of Adam. We have the sperm of Adam. We have the DNA of Adam in us. We are Adam. So we got punished for our sin, for all our sin and fallen short of the glory of God. We got punished for that. So, but Christ came to counter what Adam did as a second Adam. So now, just as we have borne the image, just as we have carried the sperm, just as we have carried the DNA of the first Adam, now a second man has come to now give birth to new type of children. Children who are no longer in bondage to death. So the answer to this question, it is not those people of that time that sinned, that Christ died. No. It is Adam that sinned, that Christ died. And we all were inside Adam. Just like a baby is inside a mother's womb. All of us were inside Adam committing that sin. And the reason that time period was chosen, that was the end of the age. That was when it ended. That age, that's when it was to end. It was the end of that age. And everything will have ended. But because Christ came and died, we got and resurrected. There was the creation of a new age. And then we now go to eternal life, eternity. So it's like there's morning starts. There's morning, and they tell you the next 24 hours you're going to die. And just 30 seconds to the end of that 24 hours, somebody comes and says, no, I have money to pay for the damage they did. Don't kill them. God waited all the whole 24 hours. Men were trying all their best to come up with solution. Everybody failed. 30 seconds to the end of that time limit of that 24 hours. 30 seconds to the end. Somebody came and said, there's no longer any need to kill this man. Kill me instead. I don't know if what I said makes sense.